my real words of wisdom, what I see from most of these successful people, they were doing something they were really passionate about. You have to be passionate about what you do. And if you're passionate about what you do, you'll be successful about it. Don't let the negativity hold you back. If you can combine humbleness and confidence, that really gives you excellence. But I really believe in that. If you're arrogant or you have an ego, you're going to be just not so successful because people aren't going to like you. They're not going to like doing business with you. The harder you work, the luckier you get. It's very simple. I really think that the most successful ones were the ones most passionate about what they were really going to produce.
Think about a certain prototype of this new customer, in terms of this new mindset. What has allowed them to achieve their success? Hi, Steve.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Welcome to the Intelligent Change podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. And today I thought, you're known as the Jet Guy, the Jet Business. On YouTube, you have over 1 million subscribers. You have your content all about, private jets, businesses. You sell jets. Tell me more about kind of your business.
Yeah, listen, we represent buyers and sellers. Sometimes we'll take a position to actually buy a jet and resell it. But we don't do the chartering, the renting, the managing, things like that. So we're really in the top of the ladder of buying and selling the airplanes. It's an interesting, very, very small niche because we're really selling airplanes all around the world. But we're based uniquely here in London, which is a whole other story, but we're here, but the business is really all around the world.
Yeah, and today I want to actually not talk about your love for aviation or private jets.
Okay.
Because I believe you have one of the most unique takes out there. And then the reason why a lot of your content is resonating with people, because you give people the insight into the world's top performers, elite. They are your customers. These are the people that you deal with on a daily basis. So today I really want to focus on really the mindset of these people that many of us don't get to interact with. So to start with, what makes these people, your customers, different from anybody else?
I mean, it's not a black and white answer because the answer to that question of the customer 25 years ago versus the answer to the question today is completely different. And the average age of a customer that we dealt with, 20, 25 years ago, which was the CEO of a corporation that was buying an airplane, probably was somewhere in the late 60s, upper 60s. And I think today the average age is probably somewhere in the mid, upper 40s. So the average age has really come down. Now that's because of a lot of wealth building, and it's a lot of the technology companies that have come out of nowhere in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And people who are less than 35 years old really don't even understand that we never really used to have telephones and cell phones and laptops in those days. And the customer we dealt with was a very stiff Fortune 1000 company, and now you're seeing much more entrepreneurial led companies, and these people's mindsets are so different than all the other ones we used to deal with. And in the earlier days, the main business was in US and Western Europe. That was really 95% of the business. And today, of course, the world is so different because you have so many more international people coming from China, from what was Russia, they'll probably come back, and Africa, Asia, and they're completely different mindsets. So the answer is so different depending on the culture and the age.
Well, if you would think about a certain prototype of this new customer, in terms of this new mindset, what has allowed them to achieve their success?
It's funny. I really think that the most successful ones were the ones most passionate about what they were really going to produce. I was with a kid the other day at a 13-year-old's bar mitzvah birthday party, and the father says, you should really talk to him. And he wasn't 13, he was 17, he was at the party. And he said, well, what do you want to do? He says, I want to do a startup. What do you mean you want to do a startup? What kind of a startup? And he said, well, I want to make sure I create something I could leave a legacy. leave a legacy. You're 17 years old. What are you talking about? I said, you got it all wrong. You have to be passionate about what you do. And if you're passionate about what you do, you'll be successful about it. So basically, you know, my real words of wisdom, what I see from most of these successful people, they were doing something they were really passionate about. Their goal wasn't to make a lot of money. Their goal was they found something that they're really in love with, whether it's a new piece of technology, an app, or you know, a critical thing, a life-changing thing for agriculture or energy or oil or whatever it is. But they found their passion early in their life, and they just followed through with that. And they didn't let other things sort of get in their way. That's the one thing of being an entrepreneur and being successful, man. No matter what happens, you got to just step over dead bodies and just keep on pushing and pressing and just never take no for an answer. And no matter what anybody says to you, you know, don't let the negativity hold you back. And that's the real trait I see in a lot of these people. They just don't take no for an answer, and they like to gather other people's opinions, but they don't let negative opinions stop them. They just basically, you know, take that information in and decide how they're going to move forward, but they don't get stopped.
And how's it for you? Because also we're sitting in your, you know, jet in the middle of London, and when you're starting out your own business and maybe going on this journey of building this enterprise, you may have also had doubters and naysayers. So how did you overcome and to build what you have now?
You know, people read your energy incredibly well. And I always tell people energy doesn't lie. And, you know, people could fake what they want on, you know, social media, you know, dress up. They could, you know, be in a more fancy car than they should afford, or in a house that they, you know, overspend on. But people speaking, people with business, they can feel their energy. And I just think I've been doing this so long, and I don't need to sell a plane next week to pay my bills. I'm pretty truthful with the people we're talking to. And, you know, sure, I want to do business with them, but we look at it as educating the client as much as we can. And there was an old clothing store when I was a kid in New York that had an advertising slogan, which I don't know why, it's always stuck in my head. It was, an educated consumer is our best customer. And for some reason, that's sort of our way of thinking with a customer. I can educate you as much as I can. Hopefully you're going to appreciate that effort, and you say, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, and they're helping me. I want to do business with them. That's really, I think, one of the things that differentiates us from other of our competitors. And because we have the showroom and the interaction with the video wall, which we don't get everybody in here, of course, but you know, people understand that that's sort of our motive. Unfortunately, there's other people who just want a deal. They just want the best price. They want to pay the lowest fee, the lowest commission. Nothing you can do about that, but that's not our ideal customer.
Going back to the aspect of relationship building, how do you approach building a relationship with somebody? How do you look at it? What's your approach?
So before social media started for us, that's why I built a showroom. Okay, because what happened was I left the industry for a long time. I was in private equity for about 15 years doing corporate takeovers with a billionaire guys in New York. And when I decided to come back in the industry, the whole demographic spread of corporate jet market changed. So before I left, 80% of the jet owners were in the US and 19% were in Europe. There was nobody else in the world. So if you wanted to see a customer, and which I always believed in face-to-face, get on a plane and go see them. In the US, it was easy to do. But when I left the industry and came back, then you started seeing, you know, the Russian, you know, the CIS countries, China, Nigeria, India, all these other countries that were starting to really, that business climate and needing corporate jets. You couldn't really go to these places. It was too expensive and logistically impossible. So I think, okay, I'm going to build a showroom to get them to come and see me. That was the whole concept of building the showroom originally. So it was to get face-to-face with people, because I really felt to build a relationship, you have to get this. You and me talking right now, we could do this on Zoom, we could do this. I can talk to you on the phone for 10 years. But a half an hour together face-to-face changes the relationship forever whenever we talk on the telephone. And that's what I really wanted to do, is build those relationships by getting in front of people, because they can read your energy, they can see, you know, what you're trying to do for them, and they will be much more forward in what they'll tell you what their needs are. And if we can find out what their real, true objectives and needs are, we can do better to help them. And I think that builds that relationship so much easier, and much more seamlessly and sincerely.
I want to switch it up a bit and go to adversity. That's something that we were speaking about at the beginning of our conversation between us. But there's a famous story of one of your first deals. You had a gun held to your head. Tell us more about that and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that was the first jet I ever sold. I was 23, 24 years old. I mean, it was a $3 million jet, which today the equivalent would be, let's say, $60, $70 million airplane. I was sitting on this tiny little jet. It's like being inside in a Viano or a minivan, okay? And I'm sitting there with these two South American guys that were representing the billionaire buyer. In those days, weren't many billionaires. And we were flying to the closing. And we already signed the papers. They transferred the money. And the guy said, we got to talk to you about our commission. And I said, what do you mean your commission? I thought I was, I had my beautiful new suit on, man. I was on this private jet. I've never been in a private jet in my life. And I've been trying to sell planes, and it's 9 months, and I never sold anything. I was working for free. Basically, I told the guy until I sold a plane. So this was big, big deal for me. The guy said, yeah, we want our commission. And I said, there's no commission for you in this thing. Yeah, well, listen, I said, how much they want? He told me what they wanted. I said, that's the whole amount my company made. We can't give you that money. Don't worry about it. He said, when we get down to South America, we'll just work it out. I'm like, you guys are crazy. We're getting dropped off in Miami. The deal's done. I'm going back to Washington, D.C., where I lived. You're going back, you're taking your airplane back home. Deal's done. And the guy sits there and he reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a pistol and puts it right, and much closer than we are. It was a smaller jet, right? And puts it right in my face. No, you're coming to, I won't say the country right now, with me. And when we get our money, you go back home. And if you don't get our money, you will never be going back home. And this was just when the movie Scarface came out. And all these ideas are going in my head, man. They're gonna cut me up and chop me up with the chainsaw, and they're gonna kill me and send a box to my mother with my body parts. It was terrible. Anyway, we landed. In those days, there was no cell phones, mobile phones at all. No Wi-Fi, and we had to stop at the private jet terminal to get fuel, and I was getting off and going back to Washington. So he said, "Let's go call your office." So he puts the gun in his pocket. This is really right out of the movies. It was crazy. And we walk into the private jet terminal, and I'm putting my 10 cents into the phone to make my phone call. And the lady behind the counter said, "Excuse me, sir, I need your credit card to pay for the fuel for the plane." So this guy had to turn around and go walk, whatever it was, 5 meters, 15, 20 feet to give her the credit card. As soon as he did that, I dropped the phone. I ran out the other side of the door where there was taxis and rental cars and stuff. I jumped into a taxi. I said, "Quick, I got a flight." And this was at Miami International Airport. And he took off, and I ducked down in the back seat. The guy comes running out. He didn't bring his gun out. I thought it was going to start shooting. All those crazy ideas in your head come up. Anyway, I went around to the airport. I called my office. I said, "Did the deal get done? The money's paid?" "Yeah, everything's closed. Everything okay? Okay, bye." Hang up. And so now I'm hiding behind these big concrete pillars in Miami Airport. This guy's going to kill me. It was bizarre. Anyway, I got on the plane. There was, in those days, no metal detectors. They don't check, your IDs. Just give you a ticket. And I got on the plane. I'm looking at the front door. They closed the door. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I escaped this. It was really James Bond stuff, man. My heart was pumping. I thought I was going to die. Next day I go to the office. I'm like, yeah, fuck those guys, man. I told them to go take a walk. I was like a big shot, But I tell you, for the next month, every time I turned the key in my car, I was like, oh, they're going to blow me up. I thought they were going to kill me, man. And I was looking over my shoulder, and anyway, nothing happened, and I never saw him again. But that was my first airplane sale.
But that obviously didn't turn you off.
Well, I was thinking, you got to be crazy. What is this business? This is nuts. But I said, it's impossible. This can't be normal. I said, let me just do one more and just see how it goes. That was a long time ago.
Is there lessons that you still carry from that, or in regards to how you just navigate life?
There's nothing you would have learned in school how to handle that situation. That was basically me being brought up, with a single mom, working 2 jobs all my life, and basically, if I needed something, I had to get it done. Yeah, I couldn't depend on anybody. And I knew I'm in this plane. You better act or you're dead. I've always sort of didn't rely on other people to get things done. It's unfortunate that a lot of people will promise you they'll do something in a certain period of time. And I always tell my guys in my office, listen, when you tell somebody you're going to deliver a presentation or you're going to meet them or whatever, always do what you said you're going to do, and at the time you said you're going to do it. Don't, come up with excuses. And I don't know, there were certain points in my life where when it's sort of like if a car runs over your foot. I mean, you'll get some crazy strength to lift this car up. You don't know where that comes from. But, at the moment, it just kicked in, Steve. It was either do it and run or survive or you're dead. So it wasn't anything I planned. It just acted on instinct.
Yeah. And one of the things that you kind of mentioned connects to the commencement speech you recently gave. And one of your advice to students was the importance of, similar to that metaphor of in a plane, you have to know which direction you're going to go, your flight plan, and otherwise, you may end up in a whole different place. So I'm curious about even in your own life, did you create a plan for yourself, a vision when you're looking back, where you're gonna be here now, with the people that you surround yourself with?
No, and I tell you, it's funny because most successful people, when they get interviewed, they sort of reverse engineer their career and say, I did this, I did that to get to do this and that. I'm trying to give these younger kids sort of life experiences, how to learn these lessons from experience that I've had, rather than just talk garbage that I'm hearing other people. And I sort of really was living, from hand to mouth. I mean, when I graduated university, literally I graduated and I didn't have a job. And so I thought, okay, what am I going to do here, So, then I would have to go to the next place to go to find the job, which I did in the next couple of days. Everything happened sort of, there's a sliding door kind of phenomenon, or the butterfly effect. And you should plan where you want to be, especially if you're younger kids, where you want to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And now you figure out, okay, really write it down. Don't just think about it. Write it down. If it's not written down, it doesn't connect to your brain. And then you sort of say, okay, what steps do I need to take? Where do I have to work? What do I have to do to get to that spot? And I didn't do that, okay? I mean, I got out of school. I decided I wanted to be in aviation. I got a job as a lobbyist on Capitol Hill. It was a great job. It was great for my ego, but it didn't pay a lot of money. So I did that for a couple of years until I accidentally met a guy in a club, in a bar, that I was working at night for extra money, that sold jets. And I'm like, wow. And he used to show up his commission checks, and I'm like, where the hell do you work? I want to come work there. So then I saw another opportunity, boom, I changed. But it was still in aviation. It was something I loved, and then I decided to go that. So then I started selling airplanes. And after many years, I sold enough to one of these Wall Street takeover guys, and we got to be friends. And he came up to me and said, you know what? Why don't you come work for me? Be my right-hand guy. And I'm like, you know what? I've been selling jets for a while. This is an interesting offer. Why not? I'll take a shot at it. Now, never in my wildest dreams, I think I was going to be working for some, Wall Street titan and doing corporate takeovers. It just wasn't in my plan. But once I got in there, boom, I dived in. I put my 1,000% of my effort and changed my mindset to make sure I adapted for that world. And now I want to say, okay, how can I improve myself in this world? And I didn't know where I was going to go from there in the next 5 or 10 years, but I sort of evolved, as I went.
So recently, I heard somebody say, and I think it was from somebody who worked for Mike Maples from Floodgate, and he was just saying that life is all about trying to get hit by the lucky bus. Kind of, just like the importance of getting those lucky breaks, and how do you expand those opportunities to get lucky. So in your own life, but also, also your customers, what's their approach to luck? How do they get more lucky?
Yeah, easy. The harder you work, the luckier you get. It's very simple. And the problem today is you got to be out there. And this is the problem with all this work from home garbage. I'm not a fan of that at all, because people need to be out there, social animals, and you can't learn anything sitting by yourself in a house, doing your own thing, working in your little silo. You need to be meeting people. You need to be going out to nightclubs and parties. But if you want to be in the aviation space, you want to be in the tech space, you got to go to these conferences. You got to, even if you're a junior person or don't know anything, go learn and start talking to people and start meeting people. You have to be a little bit more open and making conversations with people. But shit happens if you get out there. That's the real fact. And people sitting home just texting or emailing and, just sending inquiries out, 1,000, CVs to people. Nobody's going to react. You need to be out there. And it's amazing what happens when you get in front of people and you start talking. Just things you never thought would happen just fall out of the sky. So that's what I'm saying. The harder you work, the luckier you get, and the more opportunities come your way. Just sitting home waiting for the phone to ring or an email to come, just nothing's going to happen.
And looking back for yourself, what's been one of those moments where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe like that happened, and maybe that was by total accident, like you were just putting yourself out there?
Okay, well, when I finished my university, okay, 'cause it happened many times, but my first time, my university, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? They had an office called career placement in the school where people would, you can go and find jobs available in our industry. And it's an aviation university called Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. And so I'm going to go to the career placement office. One, because I want to go see what jobs are out there. Two, was because the secretary there was pretty good looking, and I was more interested to go meet her again. And so I literally went to the office and to see her, and she goes, this job just came that's going to be available, and they're going to interview people. And I graduated in December at my university because I was taking these courses faster than I should. And she goes, they're going to start interviewing in January for this job in Washington, D.C. And I said, really? Let me see it. And it was for a lobbyist, a trade association. And you had to know about statistics and marketing and be familiar with Washington. I knew nothing about statistics. I knew nothing about marketing. But, I did an internship in Washington the previous year. I said, this sounds like a great job. I said, wow, okay. And this was somewhere like a week or two before Christmas. And I literally left that office. I went back to my apartment. I had the only one suit I had. I got in my car in Florida, drove to Washington, D.C. And the next morning I walked into this person's office and I said to the secretary, I'm here to apply for this job. They said, no, I'm sorry, that's January, next month. Yeah, but I'm in town anyway. Please let me see the boss, and I want to talk to him about it. No, but he's not here right now. I said, listen, I'm here. I'm going to sit here. And if you want me to sit outside in the hallway, I will. But I'm going to sit here until he comes. And I literally sat in the reception for, it was like 4 or 5 hours. And the president of the organization finally came in. And the receptionist went to go see him and told him, he said, okay, fine, let me see the guy. And I went to go meet him. And somehow I convinced him to give me the job. And so they never actually even held the interviews the next month. They just gave me the job at that moment, so I sort of circumvented the whole process, and I got the job. So that's sort of, again, putting yourself out there, being aggressive and, trying to push, and it just happened. So I never, 24 hours before that, I didn't even know what I was going to be doing in my life.
And it seems like you do that a lot now. Like I see a lot of your videos where clients come to you, the plane that they want maybe is not even available, but you make it happen somehow. So is that kind of the theme of your life? You just kind of force and things into reality?
Listen, now I have so many years of experience in our industry, and I have such a great network. I know a lot of people in every facet of our industry. So I know who to call and ask what's going on with this or that, or connection or introduction, or what's the truth behind this situation. So I'm a little bit, now it's from experience, but yeah, you just don't take no for an answer, at least not at the beginning. Let me find out. Let me see if I could do this, and really go and put the fingers to work and your brain to work and see if something happens. But I need to create the action to happen. I mean, there's this old secret or whatever they used to call this book that if you think it enough, it will happen. I'm not some mystic guy or, some energy kind of thinking guy, but there is something to that. And if you don't think positively about something, it just is not going to happen.
Speaking about positive, one of the things that we touched upon is the importance of appreciating things in life. Because again, you deal with the ultra wealthy. And sometimes, even though they have everything, they may not actually appreciate what they have. And that has its own side effects. But in your own life, you say that this is one of the most important things to you. So how did you develop this attitude of also appreciating the things that you have in your life?
This is really, I think I really can pinpoint that moment, is because when I started selling jets, okay, what happened was I was a lobbyist and I was getting paid, I'll tell you, $13,000 a year. Okay, it's a long time ago, but still $13,000 a year is not, is not a lot of money. And so I worked at night as a waiter in a nightclub and a doorman to make extra money. when I decided to get the job selling jets, okay, I literally got a job as a waiter at night in a restaurant because I was working for free trying to sell planes and I needed to pay my rent. So what happened was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm trying to sell an airplane for $3, 4, $5 million. And 2 hours later, the guy's yelling at me because I'm not filling his coffee cup up. And it was a very humbling experience, but it really told me, Steve, listen, you're playing in that world. You are not a member of that world. Okay, you're really a waiter, and nothing wrong with that. It got me through my life, and it really, made me a humble. But I realized, listen, I'm doing this for a living, but I'm making my money here, and it sort of kept me super humble. It realized, Steve, if you start believing you are the customer, you get arrogant, and nobody want to deal with you. And I'm a real believer that the true combination of human trait that really makes you successful is humbleness and confidence. If you can combine humbleness and confidence, that really gives you excellence. I've seen this written in a lot of times, but I really believe in that. If you're arrogant or you have an ego, you're going to be just not so successful because people aren't going to like you. They're not going to like doing business with you. But it has to be real. It can't be just fake. Like I said, energy doesn't lie. So that combination of confidence and humbleness, it sounds like they don't actually mix, but they actually do. And I think that's where it was originated, because being a waiter in night and trying to sell planes in a day.
I love that. And at the same time, there's a lot of stereotypes around, let's say, wealthy people being arrogant, not nice. What has been your experience in regards to actually dealing with these people?
If they're real assholes, I mean, if they're really bad people or they got a really bad attitude, I just won't do business with them. I mean, thank goodness I have the luxury of deciding if I want to do business with you or not. And if I know, okay, you don't know 100%, but you usually know the kind of person that just is going to find any way they can to screw you. And why am I wasting my time? And there's been people that I've known, I know them very well, and they'll call me and they'll say, Steve, I want to, help me buy this plane. And I'm like, oh, bullshit me. I mean, I know you're just going to do this to get the information and screw me. So I'll tell you what, I'm just going to do you a favor. Here's the phone number of the person with the plane. Go do the deal. I'm not going to waste my time and have you made a fool, make me a fool. And what are you talking about? Listen, that's how it is. And I've had to get into lawsuits very, very few times in my life because the signature on a document is only as good as the person signing it. And if you're dealing with people around the world, you really have to have a great relationship. And because the contract, yeah, it's a legal contract, but if somebody really wants to screw you, they're going to screw you. I mean, whether you know it or you don't know it. And I just think building that rapport with the person is the only way to get around it. But again, people have to feel that you're really on their side, that you're really looking after their interests. And most of the time, you will bring those people around who are bad people. It's not the objective, but they start realizing, wow, this person can really help me. I got to be nicer, or I got to be more sincere, or I got to, open up more to them. And it just comes out that way. I don't know what happens. It just happens.
What would you say on kind of average? The wealthier you get, the more entitled and arrogant you get? Or is there humility that also exists there?
I'd say it's 75% of the people who have made it on their own, or maybe even more than that, have the humility and are nicer, and they can respect what you're doing and the effort you're putting into it. There is still that 10, 20, 25% that are arrogant. And the problem is, it's not just their fault. I mean, you understand that they are surrounded by yes people, that people will do anything to agree with what they say. They never get say no, and they snap their fingers and they can have anything at any time, mostly. And, I'm talking about buying things or getting people to do things for them. So, if you're in that atmosphere a lot, your brain starts playing games with you. And then I used to people saying no to them, or you can't do that. So, you have to sort of figure out how you say no or you can't do that in a better way. Our video wall here in our app to take people through an education process, you can't tell some smart, powerful, wealthy person that they don't know what they're talking about. But you can show them that they don't know what they're talking about. And then they start understanding it, and then they start changing the demeanor and understanding, wow, this is interesting. I'm learning something. So I think that helps us bring those people around. But if you're really a bad person, you know it, and they have the reputation that way, and you just have to decide, do I want to torture myself for the money and go through this process, or do I just want to just say, listen, I'm going to send you to somebody else?
Yeah. And as you said, the difference between, let's say, self-made and second generation, as you said, that experience that you had being a waiter really gives you that humility and also that appreciation for everything that you built up. But I worry about this even, let's say, for my own daughter, born in Chelsea's, in her case right now, always, mostly flies business class. I know some kids have just fly private, they've never even seen a commercial plane. That's what your customers, right? So it's even next level. And as you said, it's one thing to a person that even, let's say, comes up on themselves and they have a lot of yes men. A lot of these children are growing up with, it's always been the top, always yes, everything's taken care of. So what is the difficulty that you see some of your customers come through with their children who may be also buying planes from you or vice versa? How can they get those great?
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of the younger generation now too entitled in their, they just feel entitled, and for a lot of times they shouldn't be. I'm not talking about the people who were brought up entitled. I'm people weren't, but they just think because they see everything in the social media and around the world, they talk like they're entitled. But the fact of the matter is, it's, some people say, oh man, I wish I was born into money, or in the lucky sperm club, and my God is, I had to work hard. It's what those people who were brought up in that atmosphere, it's actually harder for them to really grow on their own, and not have an attitude and really have the motivation to push and succeed because they did have it given to them. So it's actually, when you see somebody who has been brought up in a wealthy family and really took it to another level, bravo to them, because that is a really tough atmosphere to go in. But what I think is the opposite of what you're saying is, I love when I see these people who are the son and daughter of a famous person or a wealthy person, or a son or daughter of somebody who runs a major corporation or something like that. And they always say, I want to do it on my own. I want to use this name, my mother's maiden name, or I want to use this different name. I want to do it on my own. I don't want to use the success of my parents or my other name. And to me, I tell them, you're an idiot. You're really an idiot. Okay, because first of all, everything you do, people are going to say, oh, that's so-and-so's kid. Okay, it's going to happen anyway. And you can leapfrog 10 years, 15, 20 years of the effort of what you're trying to do by utilizing the name or the company or whatever you're associated with and being known as. So use it to your advantage, not in a cocky way, not in an arrogant way, but use it to your advantage. And because the world is very competitive today, man, and you just, any angle you can get to push yourself ahead of everybody else, use it. And like I said, not in an arrogant way, but you really, leverage those benefits, because everybody has to have some angle to get yourself ahead of all the competition. So with these younger kids, really how they're brought up, and that's really how their parents have brought them up. And there's a difference of being spoiled and spoiling yourself. And, there's nothing wrong with spoiling yourself. Being spoiled, it's not the kid's fault that they were giving all these things. And sometimes it's a real problem, because when they get older, they've seen everything. And it takes a lot for them to be happy. And even in a relationship, the man or the female, the other side is doing so much more to make them happier. And they've been there, they've done that, and it's a yawn. And I feel a little bit bad for them that they haven't, there's certain things that they've missed in their youth that really make you happier. So it's really that critical period in your early days before you go to university, how you were brought up. And unfortunately, once you get to that point, it's really hard to change it. The only way you could really change that person is by making sure they're in a pure group, of friends that are the kind of people that you would like to see that your son or daughter, sort of be a personality like. That can change people.
Yeah, but I think the interesting point that you bring up is that people are entitled now, not even if you're from a wealthy family.
Yes.
Just in general, like regular people are becoming entitled, especially the younger that they get. And I see that myself. Like I said, I also have a company, employ people. And then, as you said, nobody wants to come into the office. Everyone wants to just live the lifestyle that I have. So, like, I should already be like you right away. But it's like, hey, you haven't seen me like work, for the last whatever 18, 20 years and to get to where I am now. So what is your advice to people nowadays who see, there's so many people who watch your YouTube, and the reason they watch your YouTube is they're like, well, I want a jet, I'm gonna be Steve's customer, in the future. And they're like 22 at the same time, like so far off about the reality, what they need to do in order to get there to be your customer.
Unfortunately, this is not a politically correct thing to say.
You can say it.
Okay, but woke is really not going to help anybody get ahead in life. I mean, when we were younger, okay, you're in school and, somebody said something to you, that was rude. Too bad. I mean, the teacher take a ruler, slap it across your hands, or, your parents, you did something wrong, your parents would hit you. I'm not saying beat you up. That's not good. It's child, abuse. But what I'm saying is, these people, you say, if you're talking in your office and you say to somebody of the opposite sex, wow, you look pretty today, or your outfit's nice, it's like sexual harassment. I mean, this is nuts. The world is getting so crazy. It's so sensitive, and it's like it's teetering. Which way? I can't say this, I can't say that. I mean, what do I do? And people they've lost, the male, female, empowerment. There's nothing wrong with, having any belief in sexuality, and that's fine. But the general, momentum, if you want to get ahead in life and things, you really have to have a strong personality. You have to have really, you have to be aggressive in your actions, and I just think this woke culture has sort of put pressure down, 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 and everybody's afraid to do something or say something or insult somebody, and that's a problem with just general society.
So what will be your recommendations to somebody who's in their like 20s, who's wants to, like I said, be a jet owner in the future? What do they have to do to become one of your customers?
Well, you have to be working in a company that, has that mindset of capitalism and hard work, and not, I want to work from home, because if you work from home, there's no way you're going to be able to benefit yourself. Forget about unfair to the company that you're not really working when you're at home or not. But the fact of the matter is you personally are going to just lose out on opportunities of meeting people, what's going on in the world, hearing what other people are saying, how people are doing things, bumping into somebody and seeing another, opportunity. It's unfair to them. So, this whole thing of working from home is the number one thing that's going to hurt anybody's growth in the future.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap this up, I want to ask a few personal questions.
Okay.
What's been making you happy lately?
Wow. It's a woman named Lisa. Okay, she absolutely, I met her 16 years ago, and never have any argument, fight, disagreement, ever. I think the key to that is not having any ego in your relationship. That's really one of the things that makes me super happy. Of course, my business, in a good place. I'm trying to grow it. I'm trying to do other things because of the social media success we've had in the last couple of years. I'm trying to figure out how I take that to another level. And one of the most satisfying things that actually have happened because of social media, and completely, again, because it just happened, not because I planned it or because I had the strategy, but I have found that there's these, millions of younger generation that are learning from what I'm saying on social media and being inspired, not just about getting into the aviation world, but just about work ethic and, and how you talk to people and negotiate and things like that. And I had no idea that this was actually having that effect on people. And when these, younger people come up to me and tell me, wow, Steve, thank you. It's because of you I went to this school, or because of you I got into this industry, or because of you I had the belief that I can go do this. It sends a shiver through my body, and I can care less if I sell another plane from social media. That satisfaction of getting that feeling that I'm helping this younger generation is such a great feeling that I didn't even know that bone existed in my body. And that is probably one of the other things that makes me super, super happy in life.
Well, it's amazing. And I think to anybody who's listening and watching, they should definitely subscribe to your channel, The Jet Business, and all the things that you have doing. I loved one of your episodes that you did with Tony Robbins, which was amazing. Did you sell him that plane?
Yeah, I did sell him that plane.
No way.
Yeah.
That's the big...
The Boeing. Actually, right here, we were sitting on that couch, and I went to his seminar the day before. And, I don't know if you've ever been to one of his, and, you're jumping up and down like crazy, for 10, 12 hours, and you're walking on hot coals barefoot, or crazy stuff. And we're sitting in here, and I already sold him one jet before. And we're sitting in, I'm like, Tony, this is really what you need. I mean, you're a big guy. You travel with more people. You got a lot of gear for your shows and stuff like that. You really need one of these. Yeah, no, I really want one, but one day maybe I got to think about it. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, yesterday I was with you all day, jumping up and down, man. What message were you trying to get across to these people? He said, what are you talking about? I mean, you had 15,000 people there yesterday. What was the message you were trying to get to them? I don't understand. What do you mean? I said, come outside. I sat him outside in front of the video wall. I had all this programmed in my head. I sat in front of the video wall and I said, I'm asking you one more time. What message were you trying to get to these people? He says, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I pushed a button, and on that giant video wall, it said, desire is not a decision. Make a fucking decision. And on the bottom, it said, Tony Robbins in yesterday's date. I'm like, this is what you were saying yesterday, man. Desire is not a decision. Make a fucking decision. You're saying, I want to get, maybe I will, I'm not sure, man, I don't know. Hey, make a fucking decision. He goes, oh, he loves the curse. He hits me in my arm. He goes, fuck you. All right, fine, let's buy it. And I sold him a Boeing. It was crazy. It was crazy. And okay, it took a few months after that to get it all done. But it was at that moment, boom. I love the guy. He's, business aside, he is one of the most amazing, sincere, energy-driven guy in the world. He's a powerhouse of energy. It's amazing.
Wow. Well, so are you, because you got him also to kind of follow through on his own truth, which is amazing.
Yeah. And then now he loves it. He won't ever get rid of it. He's addicted to it.
I think it looks great on him. Like it's a perfect size for the guy like him, of a personality and physicality. Last question I want to ask you is, intelligent change, one of our biggest themes is gratitude and appreciation that we spoke about. What is one thing in your life that you're most grateful for? Whether it be right now or just lifetime, what is one thing that you're most grateful for?
Happiness in my relationship. It makes your life heaven. If you are not, I'm talking to you about this, if you are not happy in your relationship, man, and don't fake being happy in a relationship. People who just stay in a bad relationship for too long and they're miserable. But, listen, my definition of success in life is if you wake up in the morning and you can't wait to get to work, and at the end of the day, you can't wait to get home to see your family, okay? If you have both of those, forget this work-home balance garbage, okay? Because you can't have a 50-50. I mean, if you want to get ahead in life, you can't have 50-50. But if you, at the end of the day, are so anxious to see your family, and in the morning you're so anxious to go and do your work, that's, true satisfaction and success in life. And of course, I'm feeling healthy. I'm very thankful for my health. I work at it a lot, and I want to live a long life. And I'm old now, but I'm really into longevity, anti-aging, so I'm doing everything I can to stay healthy. So it's really, my business is there. I'm helping younger people, get back in business. My relationship's great. My health is great. I mean, what can't I be, appreciative of? It's everything together. I'm so blessed that all these things have happened to me.
Oh, that's amazing. So, Steve, thank you so much for being on the Intelligent Change podcast. Also, to finish off, I just want to say I'm so grateful for you being here, for us having this conversation. And most importantly, I'm very grateful that you have put yourself out there in regards to, the content that you're making, the difference that you're making in other people's lives by showing the possibility of what is possible and also the actions that people need to take in order to get there. So thank you so much, Steve.
It's really a pleasure. Thanks for having me on this podcast. It's been a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care.
Awesome.